Welcome, Yamhill County, to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doin'?" Today, our topic is Best Handcrafted and Outdoor Newsletter, and our guest is one of our very own camera people and directors and such, Angela Jane Winkler Howard. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Howie.
It's nice to have you with us. And we have another guest as well, and his name is Little Bear, and you will come to find out what he does within this newsletter and how that works. So the very first question I have for you, Angela, is what is the best handcrafted and outdoor newsletter?
It's my creation. I created it. Doing interviews. I was out interviewing at Jackson Bottom Wetlands, and they were releasing the owls. And my kid was one of the ones who was one of the volunteers, and first interview I ever did was Christopher of the OBrien Society up in Washington. And he's like, let's let the kids release these. They had Channel 12 News there, and they had Channel 6 News Van there. But they didn't show the kids on the show. So I said to my kid, I'm like, Mom's going to make sure you're on TV. So that's how it started. And I'm going to showcase what the kids do, going outdoors. Most kids don't get to go camping or anything. So I'm like, hey, we're going to show if we can do this, anyone can do this.
So it's an electronic newsletter.
Everybody's online. Most of the newspapers are kind of not hiring as much, since everybody's reading online. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a newspaper, but I'm going to take technology into the future, go online, but go out there and get real pictures, real footage of, look, we're out here in the woods, we're enjoying this, and we're sharing this worldwide.
That's awesome. So what do you do when you go out on these road trips? Give us some of the best things that you've done so far.
Well, first off, I have a goal. It's like, okay, from place to place. It's like, oh, let's go to an event. Of course, any event you go to, you've got to pack out food. And if you have the pets, because there are mascots, you pack up all their stuff to go. And then, of course, you have to find places to eat if you don't have everything. And some of our trips are going out in the woods camping. So this picture is sunset. Once we get to our camping spot, this is on the Deschutes River, fishing.
Awesome.
And we just that's the best part, is just enjoying nature.
That's awesome. Please talk about your road trip crew.
Oh, first off, we have Literal Bear. He's our mascot, #1 mascot. We have Chloe, she's in training. My kid is the artist illustrator, so part of the newsletter is she's the cartoonist and the mascot handler. And in a way, this is her getting out, doing her homeschooling, and out there I'm raising the next leader, so this world's all ours, so I'm giving opportunities.
So who is Chloe?
Chloe is the next dog in training. We got her at Rescue, the Terrier Rescue. She's a Catahoula mix, so she is a hunting dog, even though she's about 35 pounds.
And there she is.
She's in the cage because she doesn't want the gas station attendants touching the car. She's a true Catahoula.
Well, you talked about having to pack food and tents and sleep-in bags and your child and 2 dogs and all of that. That kind of showed everything that you have to take care of.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pre-plan and pre-plat, but once we're on the road, it's like I start out with Willie Nelson's song, "On the Road Again," and my kid's like, "No, Mom, you can't sing." So she's learning to drum, and she's very good.
No, Mom, you can't sing. So what does your homepage look like?
I'm making it like a newspaper, so it has different sites to it. And this is the best handcrafted and outdoor newsletter. Travel on location with our road trip crew, led by custom warm wool hat maker, and that's me, Angela Jane Howard. And I enjoy watching animals, being with my dogs, and gardening. Our road trip crew travels to places in the mountains. Our home base is out of Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. Living and sharing with the forests, wetlands, lakes, rivers, parks, hometowns, and cities, these are our stories, and these are the people we meet and the places we've been, and I'm showing you real and enjoying my photography.
So leave that one up for a second, Andrew. To the left it says travel report, and every one of those is a hypertext link that takes you to other different things. So you have adventures, you have your daughter's comic strip, you have events, you have farm work and animals, you have some films, you have gardens and nature, you have places, road trips, trails, and walks. That's pretty cool.
I'm a hiker.
Andrew, would you go to the next slide, please? So Angela, you've been doing this since 2010 and blogging about it and making sure that everyone knows what you're doing out there.
To share the wilderness.
That's awesome. Would you bring up number 3, please? And who is this?
This is Earl. I got him at the shelter in Newburgh. He's a coonhound mix, and he's just the greatest dog ever. He's the one who taught Bear manners, kind of, sort of. He was attached to me, but Bear would actually herd him to the vehicle when I'd say vehicle. So I do a lot of dog training too, because going places with animals, I mean, you want to take your family.
Sure.
And animals are part of your family, but you still have to be the alpha in it too.
Well, yeah, you're the pack leader.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you do with this newsletter? How do you make sure people know that you've got this newsletter?
Facebook. I hit all my friends up and say, hey, check this out. I test it out there if it goes. And I'm also on all different social networks that I'll share some of my posts out there, and that way I get more people. When I post, I get about 500 people worldwide that check out the newsletter.
That's awesome.
So it's just for them to explore. It's like a newspaper, and there you go.
So you have a Facebook page that you test out all of your ideas.
So to speak, yeah. My friends will still talk to me afterwards.
You're sure of that, right?
Or at least give them a couple of months.
So what has been the best thing about the road trips first?
The best thing is just
Being out there?
being out there, yeah. Getting out there, doing something that's like, hey, look, I'm out here. I love nature. I love the woods and meeting people. I mean, it's amazing the stories that people have. I've probably met, one road trip, I met a World War II veteran. And it's like, wow. And I got to hear his stories on the air fights they had above Germany. It's like, wow.
That's awesome.
It's just all this talking and sharing of stories. And campfires. I love campfires.
So what has been the best thing about doing the newsletter since you started doing it?
I actually pulled it off.
That's perfect. So what has been the response of the newsletter and your adventures from your friends, family, and the community?
Well, they all like my picture, so I'm like, well, shoot. Come on, go check it out. I need feedback. Come on, I'm not getting any fan mail. I want snail mail, let's go old-fashioned, old school. But they like my pictures. Now that I've learned they probably can just click on it and have a picture of me, it's like, man, I can't send it in the mail. I want to send something snail mail to get some of the old school mixed in there too.
So do you get a lot of likes on your Facebook page of the photos and the videos? You do?
Yeah.
Good. At least that's feedback. What you're looking for most of all is feedback, right?
Yeah, feedback, but more than just come on guys, write something in there, comment, questions, so I get bored. If you have a question, I can show you, because I also demonstrate a lot. So since I'm a hand spinner, I worked at Shampooey as a volunteer, so I work on the walking wheel. And then of course with Farm Fest, I dressed up in the old-fashioned dress. It took me 3 months to make, hand sewed.
Wow.
And so handcrafting is what I'm promoting too.
So as a photographer and now a videographer, what have you learned from doing this work on your newsletter?
I need a crew. But I'm doing each and every part of the job so I can have more patience once I really do get a crew.
And how big of a crew do you need, do you think?
especially one that doesn't mind me talking so much and actually get some good footage that I want for the artistic part of, like, say, putting together the best handcrafted newsletter calendar, because that's my goal to do, and I want to do it on Places We Go, but make a special edition as the first one. So actually kind of getting the modeling in there with the background of, say it's a fishing one, we're out there fishing, and so putting the people in there really doing it, but then kind of doing a spoof on it too. Kind of like the handcrafters on that calendar, like I'm a spinner, actually have the pictures of me actually spinning, or whoever the handcrafter is,
Right.
and real people in the calendar doing it, not just models who's never done it. Say, oh, okay, so I'm chainsaw certified. I'll actually get a chainsaw and run it, and you get a picture of that, and you can see I'm actually running it, and at the same time looking like a model.
Okay.
See, that's a challenge.
Or you could get Bear to be interactive in that event.
Oh, yes, with animals.
Yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. So, as a videographer now, what have you learned from doing all of this newsletter?
It's kind of neat. It's like adding more dimensions to the newsletter, so I can actually do the movies, you can actually see it happening, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard at all. It's like the one video, it's one step at a time. On this video, we're up in the mountains. We're in the Trinity, Shasta wilderness. I hiked up there with Little Bear, just the two of us. And, okay, I cheated. I followed the mule team up there because we went out to find the California Conservation Corps has a trail crew that builds these trails by hand. They move the rocks by hand, sometimes the rock bar to help move them into place. So people can get up there and enjoy nature and see our woods out there. And the neatest part of this is I found a velvet ant. I've never seen a velvet ants for real. I grew up on National Geographic and all the little insects and
Sure.
everything. I'm like, we have it all right here. I mean, bugs. Bugs are amazing once you get really up close.
Sure. Macro.
Yeah, I love doing the macro photography. So I'm working on that part too on another little blog spot.
And where is this location again?
Trinity, Shasta Wilderness.
Awesome.
We're up on Lion Lake Trail. 5.5 miles, switchbacks and up. And this is in 2015. And Little Bear carried his own pack up there.
And we'll show that in just a second.
There's Little Bear right
Yeah,
there.
Right there, doing his thing. So talk about the ants again. What color were they?
Oh, it's almost like, at first I was sitting on the rock and I'm thinking, oh no, it's fire ants, because I've been bitten by a fire
me
ant
too.
before. They sting. But it was different. It kind of had a little humpback and it was red, and then it had a velvety, it's like a black body. And it's like, that's cool. Wait, that's different. That's here in America. This isn't in South America or where all the really cool bugs really are.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, we've got a nest. And then I went online and found that some are in Southern Oregon also. People have made mention of it. So my next trip out, I actually want to get more footage of some of the critters that we live with.
So could you bring up the photo of a bear in his backpack, Andrew? Okay, so do you force this dog to carry that backpack?
No, actually, when he puts it on, he thinks he's working. He is a working dog breed, and he'll actually stand to attention more.
Wow.
The first time I did that, he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. But see, before I trained him with the pack too, because every time we'd go on our walks, because I walk them twice a day,
Right.
or the kid will walk them twice a day, depends, but they get their exercise in there, put the pack on, and then he gets a treat.
So how much does Little Bear weigh?
He is about 63 pounds.
And he can handle that backpack.
I've looked on to how much you fill it up to the weight of the dog.
Have you ever thought about buying a GoPro, those small video cameras that you can mount to a collar or the top of a hat or anything, and putting that on him so you get a dog's point of view of what it all looks like?
Except he'll probably roll over on it and break it, and that could be a little expensive.
So, the next section we're going to talk about is your hand-spun wool hats. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Well, going camping, I hate being cold, so I make wool hats, and you've heard the saying that cotton kills. When you're up in the woods, wool keeps your heat in. So
Right.
I make my hats the Watchman style, so even when you're in the sleeping bag, you could stay warm, roll around all over, and your hat still stays on, and your head's warm, and you're not suffocating in the sleeping bag.
And you need raw material to create these hats.
Oh, I use raw materials
Yeah.
sometimes too.
And
I would go out to the sheep farm, so this is farm work, so this is where the wool comes from, and this is actually local here in Yamhill County, this farm that I go help at. And that's the shearers shearing off the fleece of the sheep. And then I take it and I throw it to the ladies who are waiting. It's called fleece throwing. So
Okay.
I developed that skill so I can help out, and then this is where I get some of my fiber from.
And the hat that you're wearing in that shot also comes with a scarf.
I do a neck warmer. I just do a little neck warmer to where it doesn't fall off, and actually the motorcycle riders like that one because the wind doesn't go through the wool.
And we can't promote it, but we can talk about you have those for sale on your website.
I do custom colors and stuff.
So you're pretty artistic in a lot of ways here. So what motivates and inspires you to do this artistic work?
Well, it depends what the work is. If I'm drawing,
Well-
it's more for myself and it's to veg out. The other is a challenge. It's like, I can do that. And so I put my hands to it and I do it.
Why do you do it in nature?
Photography, a friend of mine a long time ago said, well, you're artistic, you can see things, why don't you try photography? And for the longest time I thought photography's not art. You're not taking a pencil or a piece of paper and drawing it out, and I'm an illustrator. Or I was an illustrator more often back in high school because I was bored.
And wanted something better to do?
No comment right now. I'm taking the fifth on that. Who
Okay.
knows who's going to be watching this?
So I know you've done some illustrations for like Newburgh. City
Oh,
of
that was a
Newburgh.
painting. I'm an illustrator and not so much a painter, but I pretend that the paintbrush is a pencil. I dip it in different colors and I paint it out. So I did do the Newburgh Pool mural with the orca whales in that.
So if you're at the old aquatic center in Newburgh ever, look on the wall.
Yeah, but I think they're remodeling it, so who knows where
They
it's
are,
going.
they're building a whole new facility. They tore down the whole park.
Oh.
And so they're building a brand new aquatic center over there. So can you talk about doing your video camera work on this show, but also Ken Moore's show, and how long you've been doing it now as a videographer?
Well, let's see. It started out with me with my little camera taking pictures and going to all the events around, especially up in Yamhill, Carlton area, and I saw Ken Moore, and it took him 2 years before he remembered my name because I was videotaping the parade they were going through in Carlton, and I'm like, come on, you need some work. I mean, he's like, well, we got, I need a camera person. Oh, okay. So I showed up. First day I showed up, they're like, oh, Howie needs somebody. So I'm like, okay, so I'm camera 3.
You are
I
camera.
scored on 2. I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and hopefully they're still alive because I need work.
And now how long have you been doing this
Since
video?
October.
Since October of
October.
2016.
Yeah.
And you've taken a training course as well.
So I can take the camera out and collect footage now.
Right. So talk about your YouTube channel for a moment.
My YouTube channel, I started that so I could do the videos to share on my newsletter.
Right.
So it's kind of like my staging area, and then I take out the videos. Like this one would be on trails. These pictures I haven't shown officially yet
Oh,
on
this
my
is new
newsletter.
to the whole world?
Well, some of this I've clipped together in a little music video I did. I actually had the banjo, and I need to get better at music, so that's my next step, is learning the banjo, a little bit more practice. That's on my YouTube video, so you can hear my very first banjo playing.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was actually fun. But the funnest part was when somebody goes, oh, they said, well, the banjo player really isn't that good. And then it dawned on them that I was the one who played it. And they're like, wow, you actually played that? So I knew I did good.
So what is this location that Bear's romping in?
That's up in the mountains there in the Trinity, Shasta. And oh, he had a blast. He slept so good that night. The trail crew told us they'd seen a bear in camp the night before we showed up.
Boy.
And so I'm like, where do I put my tent? And because Bear shares the tent with me. And they're like, oh, over there by the cook. And it's like, oh. And then I got out one morning, I'm like, that's bear scat. So yes, a bear does scat in the woods.
So you have a Facebook page as well, and you utilize that mostly for just kind of testing things out?
Because I have friends on that, and so if nobody gives me feedback, I figure out who put like, and then I go to them, I'm like, okay, why did you like that? So that's how I get my feedback, is I follow up and I go back and forth.
Do you get comments on your YouTube channel as well?
I've had a couple of hate mails on that, but I just went ahead and reported it and then erased it, and I figure that's going to be happening anyways.
It does, everywhere. So having worked on the recent Farm Fest special for Speaking Frankly and How We Doin, what did you learn in that process?
It's fun to have somebody go out and play with the camera with.
Isn't it?
It's nice having a team. I'm used to doing all the hats myself, so I go from one to the next, and then I have to leave the others open while I'm doing this part, and then I've got to come back to it. But actually having a team, it's almost like it finished. And then to the next step, and that was the coolest part. It didn't take so long.
Right. So we had 2 camera crews, and you were the interviewer some of the time, and you were the camera person some of the time for 7 hours.
Yeah.
And that was fun for you.
Yeah. I got to switch back and forth, and then I got to zero in live. Or not live, but collecting the footage. That was fun.
And then we had Paul Weber and Caroline OBrien doing the same exact thing, but different locations throughout the day. So, and then we also had our number 1 camera person, Joseph Latarte, out there schlepping things around and helping out where he could to assist all of the crew. How do you like working in this team? Actually,
it's really cool. I feel like I'm a movie maker. And I got to interview and be on TV. I didn't do so bad.
You did really good. So now that the video is out there of the Farm Fest special for 2017, and Caroline OBrien did all of the retouches at the end, it's fantastic. I hope that you get to see it soon.
Oh, I will, because I've got a few more things coming from that to go into more details.
Yeah, and you're going to be doing some specific things with some of the footage that we didn't use and some of the footage we did use.
And especially textiles, because I am a hand spinner. It's old-fashioned art, and here's a secret. That's from spinning.
Muscles.
Yeah.
You've been eating your spinach.
No. Oh, well, fresh spinach. I don't like it from a can. I'm not Popeye.
So recently you took the camera and you went down to the very first day of our Thursday farmers market and shot some footage down there that you're going to be editing here soon.
Yep, and Caroline is going to help me with that. And we'll get that out so you can at least see the first, and I hopefully got the music playing, because that's the key too.
So when I was in here on Wednesday, you were editing on a piece of footage that you had also shot that looked like a Renaissance fair.
Let's see, the Society of Creative Acronism was over at McMinimum's in Forest Grove, so they're putting on a show and everyone got to try out the handcrafts, and there was a blacksmith there who I got to see because we did the blacksmiths at Farm Fest. So it's like, this is really cool. So I took out the camera to get some footage and my little camera to get the still photo shots, and my daughter was a photographer on some of those too.
So Rachel's learning a lot.
She doesn't know it yet, but she does. She's actually a really good dog handler. She doesn't know that because this is her family,
Right.
and she is. She's got some skills.
So talk about working and juggling so many projects at the same time, all at once.
Well, it's not all at once. I go from one to the other.
Yeah,
Hopscotch.
I understand.
Hopscotch.
So do you enjoy doing multiple projects?
It's to keep me busy. I need to keep busy.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. So what changes in your own video work have you seen now from all of these experiences?
I'm getting better at setting up where the people are. It's getting better. I can see it now. It's kind of like when I first started to draw, and then as I got better and better, it's like going from my cow cartoon, because I used to do a little cow bull cartoon, to the next. It's like my skill level's growing.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
And so in that experience of growing in that way, what do you see for the future for your own video work? Because I know you're going to be doing a lot of this independent of all of us.
No, actually, I hope to have my own crew, so I never have to do it again.
You don't want to do it all by yourself?
No. So I can. I like getting out there. It's like with the booth fairs. I mean, there's one thing sitting there all day, but I'm one of those that likes to circulate. So if I get someone sitting there or we alternate, I like to see what's new and say, hey, look what I got, and I come back with the news. It's kind of like in the olden days, you'd have the person who would go out there, get the news, and stop by each town, go out and get more news, and bring back some more news. I'm like that.
And now you're learning how to edit as well. So now I saw you at the editing station the other day. What are you learning in that respect?
I'm making a story up from the footage I got. Depending on which way I could highlight different areas. So that's what I'm going to have fun practicing with the Farm Fest footage, is textiles, because a lot of people are interested in that, where blacksmithing, only a few, well, you could say it kind of splits between the guys and the girls.
Sure.
But there's some girls that like the footage too, and just seeing a girl do it is kind of cool too.
So this is going to be my very last question. What makes your day? What makes you happy? What makes your day? From all of this, you've got a lot going.
My kid's growing.
Yeah.
And then I got my animals. And I'm causing waves out there.
What kind of waves are you causing out there?
Oh, I don't know. As long as it's all good and I get a laugh. As long as one person laughs during the day from something I say, even if I'm not sure what's funny, I get them to laugh. Actually, that's the biggest thing that makes my day, when I hear somebody laugh.
Well, that's awesome. So would you like to look into camera number 3 that you typically run and say one last thing about your newsletter and how to get in touch with you, and we can bring up your banner for that?
Oh, it's all on the newsletter. Write me a letter, and I'll write back, and I'll send a picture signed.
So there's how to get in touch with you through your Gmail account.
Mm-hmm. And you put that on the computer, it'll bring up the web page. I've got it to where even if you put in my full name, it'll all pop up. Best Handcrafted Outdoor Newsletter, and all the little sites I've done on the side.
Well, Angela's a pop-up. So thank you so much for being on Speaking Frankly today. Thank you for all of the work that you've done with Farm Fest, with Speaking Frankly, with doing all your shoots. And we have watched you grow. It's been exciting to watch. So thank you very much for being on today. Thank you for watching.